Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about getting into medical coding later in life. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. I really love what I do, so I tell all my stories and tips and tricks on my channel. So if you'll take a second, I hope that you hit the subscribe button. I hope that you will like this, and at the end, if this video helps you, I hope that you will share it with all your friends. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so you consider yourself older. You want to get into medical coding and you think maybe you're too old to get into medical coding. I've gotten so many emails. I've done a video like this before with this very title, but I decided to go ahead and do it again because sometimes I think that when maybe the video gets too old, it doesn't it doesn't make the circulations or whatever. I don't know how it works. All I know is I just want to go ahead and talk about it again. So if you are in your 30s or in your 40s or your 50s, I knew a lady when I was in school and she was in her 60s. She was age 61. She went through the program, she got her certification, and she's still a medical coder today. So if she can do it, I say anybody can do it, okay? But she survived the ICD-10 changeover. So she went from ICD-9 to ICD-10 and she's still in it. So to me, age is not an issue. It is all going to be on the individual, because even people that are young in their 20s or maybe even in their teens, they still struggle to understand medical coding. Medical coding takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of effort. It is so much effort into this. A lot of people don't understand that sometimes, and they think that it's just an easy job and that you can just read charts all day and, just enter in a little bit of information and a system will give you the code. It's not the case. You have to really be diligent in understanding what you're reading. You have to understand medical terminology. We have to have technical skills to do this job. And in order to get those technical skills, you got to go to school for it, or, you have to do independent study depending on the credential that you're going to hold. So with all of these things in mind, sometimes people will say, well, I feel like I'm too old. It's almost as if sometimes I feel like when I get emails from people who consider themselves older, that they're trying to get me to convince them to do it. I can't convince you to do anything. I mean, you have to have the desire to want to do it. I love doing this. This is my joy. This is my passion. This is what I spend 40 hours a week in a work week doing. On top of the 20 hours I spend doing videos for YouTube and Patreon, okay? And that's not counting all the other reading that I do on top of that. So it is a continual process. I enjoy it. It is what my life's passion is. And I always say that medical coding found me, because I didn't know anything about medical coding when I first started. And I had no previous background in medical at all. So I mean, how did I get here? For me, in my situation, I was unemployed. I went to the unemployment office and I was going through the classes like they normally have you go through classes, like how to write a resume and, other things, So school was one of the classes that they were offering. And they said, well, we have this program called the WIOA program, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And we have this, and we will pay for you to go to school. And all you have to do is just go through the program and find a job that you were trained in. And I said, oh, that's a no-brainer. I can do that. So that was how I got the money to go to school, because I didn't have any money. I was going through a divorce. I had, literally moved out I went from my mom's house to my husband's house and back to my mom's house when my husband and I were getting a divorce at the time. So, there was all of those things in it. It was not an easy time for me, but I had to have it in my head that I wanted to do something different with my life. I had gone from delivering phone books, which you may think, really, phone books? This was back before all the smartphones, okay? And it was a really good paying job. Now that was a job, okay? Medical coding is a career. It's completely different. The dynamic, The setup is completely different. It is not a job. This is not a 9 to 5. This is a career. And there's a difference when you talk about careers versus jobs, okay? So I loved my time working with phone books. But what I didn't like was when it stopped. You know, we all got laid off, and, you know, eventually it's phased out. It's not as big as it once was. And then I started working, you know, at the bartending, and I was doing concession stand work. I did restaurant work. I worked at a halfway house. So I was working like at a bunch of different jobs that were just little dead-end jobs, basically. And, you know, I mean, I just did what I had to do. But the thing is, when I got presented with this opportunity to go to school, I leaped at it with both feet because I love school. And I was going to go back to school. I did have intentions of going back. I just didn't think about it at the time, you know. And so again, when I was presented with this, I was like, I could do that, you know. But I didn't know. I didn't know anything about what medical coding even was. I wanted to take the accounting program that they had because I figured I could work independently doing accounting, and I know numbers. I mean, numbers are really easy for me. I'm really good at math. And but my case manager was like, no, why don't you try medical coding, you know? And so I was like, oh, well, okay. So he starts telling me about it. And so I get into it. And when I got into it, there was people of all ages, mostly ladies. I didn't see any males in my class. They were all ladies, and they were all ladies of different ages, different backgrounds. Some were mothers who were just going back to get a new career because maybe, you know, they needed to support their kids, or you know, they were just wanting to do this because their kids had already left the house and they wanted to go back to school and do something for themselves, which I think is admirable, because if you've spent all your time raising your family and raising your kids, and then you go back and you do something for yourself, that's really awesome. But I will say this, for some people, they had support. Me going to school, of course, my mom supported me. My mom was amazing, you know, and she was really supportive the entire time. And I really have to say that when you're an adult going back to school, it is hugely important that you have a supportive team behind you. My mom was a force all by herself. I miss my mom every day. My mom passed away quite a few years ago. And I always get kind of like my throat gets tight. But she was there to support me, and I miss her terribly. You know, she was the one who got me through school. I owe my career to my mom. And you will need that. You will need to have a good support. But if you don't have people to support you, that's fine. Come here. You know, you can talk to me. If you can see all of my comments, I have people from all walks asking me questions all the time. And, you know, I'm always very supportive because that's the kind of person that I am. You know, that's the kind of person my mom raised me to be, is to be supportive, because she was all about positivity and I'm all about positivity. I am very direct. I will tell you that. I'm not direct to be in a mean way. I want you guys to understand that. Sometimes people will take what I say. It's like, oh, you're being very blunt. Okay, well, it's better to be blunt and direct than to try to sugarcoat. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat with you guys, because I think that a lot of times there's a lot of lies already out there about medical coding. So I figure the more direct that I am, the better off it is for you. If you want the truth, then you come to the right place, because I will give you the truth. I'm not going to sell you something. I don't have anything to sell you. I just, you know, want you guys to know and understand what the real deal is. Okay. So, and, you know, again, it may be things that you don't want to hear. And that's unfortunate, but it does happen. And again, like I said, if you want to have the sugar-coated version, it's not going to be here. This is going to be very direct and to the point, you know. And I always think that that's better, because I think people operate better when things are told to them directly, and not just sort of in a roundabout way, you know. But going back to the age groups of people that were in this class that I had, There were some that were very young. They were maybe in their early 20s. And then there was ladies that were in their 50s. They were there, you know, the lady that had completed the program, she had completed it on the tail end of me being there. So, I mean, she was already finishing up by the time I got out. So, I mean, by the time I got in, I meant it the other way. I mean, everybody that was there had their own story, had their own reason for wanting to be there, had their own reason for starting the program. And you did have some that, you know, with their adults, and they would have their family members telling them, you're not smart enough to do this. You know, you'll never get this. Why are you even doing this? And I think that's horrible. It's horrible to have people like that around you, but unfortunately it does happen. It's all on you and what you think and what you want to do, okay? If you really want to do this, there's nothing that anybody can say that can stop you, as long as you are putting in the work. Is it hard? Yes. Is it a lot to learn? Of course. You have to learn about the body. You have to learn about anatomy, physiology, medical terminology, which is a whole nother language all by itself. But it is an exciting ride. It is an exciting field. This field never gets boring. And every day that I'm in it, and this is my own personal opinion, you may not feel this way, but every day that I'm in it, I love it more. I mean, I literally love it more. I enjoy the people that I work with. I really enjoy all the doctors that I work with, regardless of if they give me a hard time or not. Sometimes you will have that. Some providers, they don't want to be told, you know, to do anything. But then when you do start developing relationships with providers, you know, it gets a lot easier and they start to understand, and everything becomes even more fun because you're learning. And that's one thing that you're going to have to do, is learn a lot. And it's not about making excuses. Well, I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, then don't do it, you know. But if you want to do it, get ready. You know, you got to pull your bootstraps up and get on there and just you know, start walking. You know what I mean? Because that's all you can do. You know, it's what is it saying? A journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single step, or whatever. However that says. However it goes. But that is the gist of it. I mean, you just have to walk it in faith. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to do the heavy lifting. You have to do the reading. You have to do the studying, you know. That's why I do these videos weekdays at 7:30. Most of the time I can get them done by 7:30 because I always try to pre-record instead of waiting till the last minute. But sometimes things happen and schedules get busy, and, you know, what are you going to do? But I try to make sure that I get all of these, you know, videos out. I try to make sure I touch on topics that you guys want. And this was a recurrent email that I keep getting. You know, I'm older, Blue. I'm in my 30s, and you know, can I do a new career? I'm like, you're in your 30s. Come on, you know. I'm in my 40s. The same thing. I'm in my 50s. You know, my kids have left the house, and, you know, I don't have anything to do, and I really want to try to do something. And, you know, is it too late for me? No, it's not too late for you. You know, as long as you realize that you are going to have, if you're in your 50s, your 40s and your 50s, you're going to have a boss that's probably younger than you, okay? And for some people, that's difficult, okay? That they don't want somebody that's younger than them, but it happens. To me, you really shouldn't look at somebody's age, but again, you know, I don't look at people's ages. I look at the caliber of the coder themselves, you know. And even if a coder is brand new, I always look at how are they trying? Are they trying? You know, are they doing the heavy lifting? Are they doing the research? You know what I mean? That's what I look at in a medical coder, regardless of how long they've been in. Because even veteran medical coders still struggle, you know, because if they're not studying, or perhaps they haven't had the exposure to different clinics, maybe they just kind of wanted to stay in one clinic, and that's all the experience that they have. It can be the same as a brand new coder, you know, somebody who's just brand new to the field. But don't let your age stop you from doing the things that you want to do. And if you go to a trade school, or if you go to school, you know, a college or something, you may be the older one in the group, but again, don't let that bother you, because the thing about being older, okay, and I put older in quotes, the thing about being older is that you know what you want. You know, and with young people, yes, they do know. Some are very driven and they already know, you know. I know a couple that watch my channel that are very young and they're very driven, and I love seeing that. I love seeing young people that are very driven, because sometimes you don't always see that in young people, and young people being like in their early 20s, you know. And sometimes you don't know what you want to do in your early 20s, you know, because you're still young. But when you're older, you know what you want, and you know what to do to get what you want, as far as like studying and things like that. With the younger generation, I think it's hard for them because, you know, the studying seems to have changed in the last in the last decade, the last 2 decades, actually. I want to go back 20 years. I mean, it really has changed since I left school. It really has changed. And kids today are not being taught the same. And so their learning habits are completely different. You know, they write me and they ask me, Blue, what are the latest apps to study with? I'm like, apps? Pick up a book. Use a pen. It worked for Einstein. It can work for you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fool with apps. I don't fool with, you know, any of those things like that. I completely go on books. I do handwritten flashcards. I do those kinds of things because, again, I'm old school, you know, and I just, you know, to me, please stay out of the Facebook medical coding groups, whatever you do. I don't care who they are, who it belongs to. I don't care. They're negative. And the things that people say in there have gotten to people, like they've literally given up being a medical coder because they heard this and this and this. And then I had a couple emails where people said they literally dropped out of the program because what they heard in the Facebook medical coding groups, that they couldn't find a job or whatever. Finding a job is irrelevant to you personally, because you don't know what that person who can't find a job, or who has been applying and isn't hearing back, you don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what their resume looks like. You don't know what their background is. You don't know if they're passing the initial assessment, because yes, every place that you go that they're going to give you a shot, they're going to give you an assessment, because they need to know what you know. What is the level of your knowledge? Even if you're brand new, even if you're a veteran coder, they'll still test you, okay? Because they need to know what you know, okay? Do you know enough to start? Because sometimes you'll get lucky, and you know they'll go ahead and take you on. So it just depends, you know, on the situation at that place. But again, don't get discouraged if you feel like you're older and you know you can't keep up. Yes, you can. You know, it just takes discipline and it takes hard work. That's all it is. You know, that's pretty much the big secret, is that it takes a lot of reading, it takes a lot of studying, and it takes a lot of commitment. But I'll tell you what, it'll pay you in dividends just being in this field, because there's the amount of pride that you get from working in this, and then just, I don't know, being a part of a provider's growth and their progress with documentation and code selections and things like that. It's really, truly amazing, you know, and it's, I don't know. I mean, it makes me happy. You know, I have days when, you know, I get so happy and so excited about what I read and the way that I see them improve, you know, with their documentation, or, you know, how they finally understand something, you know. And to me, it makes it all worth it, you know. So again, like I said, if you're older and this is what you want to do, go for it. Don't let your age stop you, you know. The lady that I knew that was in her 60s didn't let it stop her. She's still going. And I've been in this field for over 10 years, so that says a lot, you know. So anyway, that's my message for today. But yes, I hope that this this helps in some way. And you know, if you're still thinking about it, do your research. Just do your research and see if you think that this is right for you. But if you write me and you ask me, hey, do you think this is for me? Darling, I don't know. that's the in and out of it. I don't know. Because the thing is, I don't know what your work ethic is like. I don't know, you know what I mean, how frustrated you get if you make a mistake, because you will make mistakes and you have to learn from them, and you have to pick up and keep going. You know, and especially in the beginning, you're going to take a huge hit on your ego. And if you can't handle that, then that's probably something you should consider before you start getting into it. Okay? But like I said, it will be here for you, and it's sustainable, and it's just a great career. At least that's my opinion anyway. So I'll go ahead and wrap this one up, but I hope this helps. Again, I'll be back tomorrow for Q&A Tuesday. It's going to be a episode full of questions that I've had before, going over older questions, because there was hardly no questions submitted for Q&A Tuesday. So yeah, I'm just going back on the classics now. So anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. But if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye!